Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Michelle.
Tonight we're taking an inside look into the drug war.
And here's our very own Bertalio with an inside view. Let's take a look.
Tonight we take a look into the drug war. What does the drug war mean for the U.S.? And how does it tie into what our founding fathers hoped for the Fourth Amendment? The Fourth Amendment states the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause. Support by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The Founding Fathers' intent for this Fourth Amendment was to protect the rights of individuals and prevent the government from abusing its powers. The founding generation had a pretty clear idea of what constituted unreasonable, because they experienced it firsthand under the British rule. Prior to the Revolution, the British claimed the authority to issue writs of assistance, allowing officials to enter private homes and businesses to search for evidence of smuggling. These general writs authorized the holder to search any place for smuggled goods and did not require any specification as to the place or the suspected goods. Writs of assistance never expired and were considered a valid substitute for specific search warrants, and they were also transferable. The Fourth Amendment prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. The amendment has been torn to shreds by the drug war. Here are some of the ways in which this has happened. Anonymous tips alone were previously useless in obtaining a search warrant. That's no longer the case. Any of us can have our home searched simply by an anonymous informant claiming, with no corroborating evidence required, that illicit drugs were found there. The Supreme Court has allowed the police, when stopping a car for a traffic violation, to order everyone out of the vehicle, to frisk anyone if they believe there is probable cause. Evidence obtained with an invalid search warrant can now be admitted in court as long as police acted in good faith. The Bill of Rights provides little protection to public school students. The Supreme Court has approved the searches of purses, lockers, and college dorm rooms. Students have also been subjected to strip searches. The authorities simply need to indicate that they suspect drugs will be found.
Public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive.
President Nixon declared the war on drugs in June of 1971, stating that the war on drugs was America's public enemy number one. This led to the increase of the size and presence of our federal drug control agencies. This is also when no-knock warrants were established. Nixon enforced the mandatory sentencing. In 1972, Nixon created a commission for the concern of the war on drugs. The commission suggested that the decriminalization of the possession and distribution of marijuana. The American citizens were in support of this suggestion until they saw the high increase of teens using marijuana. In 1985, 2 to 6% of Americans saw drug abuse as the nation's number one problem. Then, in 1989, it spiked to 64% that saw drug abuse as the nation's number one problem.
Do you think declaring the war on drugs made drugs more popular and citizens more likely to experiment?
Yes and no. More popular, probably not the whole experimentation thing, no.
Okay.
Break that camera.
What goals might reasonably be set for drug enforcement?
Can you fit that head in there with that close?
Pretty much just the stuff we have, we have interdiction teams that just work the freeways and stopping trucks and whatnot, and just tips, and essentially pretty much what we've been doing, just stopping cars and getting lucky.
What basic strategies might police departments consider as alternative attacks on the drug war?
Alternative awareness, education, trying to get the kids, like we had the DARE program, that's really not in effect anymore, but that's just teaching kids the effects of drugs and what it does to you. And we even have progressions of people that have been arrested, first arrest versus their last arrest. They may have been arrested 10 times in that time, and you see like how they look in the first arrest and what they look like in the last arrest, which is pretty eye-opening because it's brutal. It takes a toll on your body.
Absolutely. Do you think the war on drugs has failed?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends how you look at it, but like marijuana is almost legal. So I mean, and is it useful in certain instances? Sure, but I guess it's never stopped. So I guess it's failed.
And lastly, do you think legalization would be the answer for all the drugs?
No. Nope. We gotta keep the bad ones illegal, the highly addictive ones. And I understand marijuana, is used for like glaucoma and arthritis and all that. I get it. Do what you gotta do, but the illicit drugs like LSD and cocaine and heroin, it's killing kids. It's an epidemic right now, especially heroin. So.
Have you seen a spike on hardcore drugs since there has been easier access to marijuana?
On the campus, no. Not at all.
Okay.
But I'm sure a lot of municipal and big city police departments probably have seen that.
Do you see a lot of drug use as a problem on campus?
Not a significant problem. I mean, we're not unaffected by it. We probably have a handful of cases each year involving narcotics.
What goals might reasonably be set for drug enforcement?
Well, I think on the campus setting, we have a zero tolerance policy for any illicit or illegal drug, regardless of the Michigan marijuana laws. It's still a violation of law federally, so this is a drug-free zone. And I think if you look at municipal and state and federal agencies, they're going to obviously have a much more global look at how drugs are affecting their communities. Mm-hmm. Because we don't have a residential population here, we don't really have that same ripple effect. We have a very transient population that comes into the campus and then leaves, so we don't really see that same effect that maybe a local community would see with illegal drugs.
Do you believe personally that the war on drugs has failed?
No. I think that when you live in a society, I guess we're going really much to societal norms and just the basics of a society. There are laws and there are punishment for breaking those laws. And the fact that there are a lot of people that succumb to drug use, there's maybe a lot of things tied into that in terms of poverty and socioeconomic status and things of that nature, mental illness. There's a whole heap of problems that get thrown into why people are using drugs in the first place. And so to maybe have the cause of that breakdown being, well, see, the laws aren't working and therefore we should get rid of them, I think is really round logic thinking. It's a much bigger issue than that. So I think for a lot of people, a lot of young people in particular that are in that situation where they're caught with illegal drugs, they learn their lesson, they move on, and become productive members of society. But there are obviously people that, for one reason or another, get stuck in that rut of illegal drug use and escalate to other drugs and other issues, and you know, it just becomes really problematic. But to say that the laws aren't working would be wrong, and then to say that the laws aren't working, so therefore we should get rid of them, is even, I think, a bigger step backwards in terms of how we should function as a society.
Perfect. And that was a closer look into the drug war on this episode of 15 Minutes. I'm Britalia. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Britalia. We've just witnessed some compelling evidence on the war on drugs.
It makes you wonder if the war on drugs will ever really end.
Thank you for tuning in to 15 Minutes. Have a great night.
Or mean. Oh, come on. Darn it.
Great for the booty bitches.
That would be great for the bloopers. You know how when singers get ready to sing and they like hum stuff? And what is the drug war? Oh, how does the drug war?
Go.
Tonight we take a look into the drug war. And what... Oh, fuck.
Can I?
Hi, I'm Michelle. Hi, I'm Michelle. Hi, I'm Michelle.
I'm saying it first.
Some compelling evidence on the war on drugs. I feel like I just need to read it off there for quite some time.
Okay. Let's see. Alrighty. Oh, it's recording whenever you... Oh my god.
Reporter hands.
Okay, let's do this.
Vote for me and I'll be free.
Vote for me and I'll set you free.
Okay, ready?
Keep going.
President Nixon declared the war on drugs in June of 1971, stating that the war on drugs was America's... Why am I playing with my shirt? Nixon declared the war on drugs in June of 1971.
3, 2, 1.
President Nixon declared the war on drugs. Can you still fucking hear her?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you
Take
think
one.